Hello guys, welcome to another video. In this video, we will be seeing on how to use S3 vector buckets. Okay, recently S3 has launched a vector buckets where we can store the embedded information as well, right? For the scenarios like RAG applications in GenAI, we'll be we'll be vectorizing the long text and storing into the vector database. But vector database can be little costly. So S3 is the cheaper one. So in S3 also we can store the vectorized or the embedded information, embedded data. So let's see on how we can do that. So guys, now if we come to S3, we have to go to vector buckets, and here we can create any kind of vector bucket. So just give the bucket name and the type of encryption we want. That's it. I already have the bucket, so let me use that. And once we have the bucket, inside which we have to create the indexes. So the embedded data will store inside this index only. So you can create the vector index just by this. I just gave index data 1 and the number of dimensions you want. The number of dimensions is being generated by our model. So right now in my code, I'm planning to use this text embedding 3 large from OpenAI. So this model by default generates 3072 dimension. So that's the same value we have to mention here. That's it. And what kind of retrieval you want cosine or Euclidean. That's it. So now I have created the index and I have created the number of dimensions it takes. So I can just use this index in my code. That's it, while writing into this S3. Here, if you see, I'm just making sure I have that index or not. Inside this method, I'm just making sure. So I'm getting the connection for my vector bucket using this Boto3.client S3 vectors and the region name. So this is how we get access to any of the service in AWS, right? So here, this is how I have done. So I'm using this particular S3 vectors everywhere. So now if you see, I'm using that connection, get index, the bucket name and the index name. I have the index name in my env file. That's it. So if it exists, fine, or else we can create it. So first we have checked whether this index exists or not. So now let's see how we can load into the vector DB. So once we have the output from the model, so now if you see, once this is done, I have this index PDF method, and inside this PDF method I am reading a PDF file first, which is fine based on the path. That's it. I got the text information. The text information I am chunking, that is fine, and that chunked information I am passing it to this embed text method, and inside which I am using this embedding model which I have showed you, and from this OpenAI. So the client.embedding.create the model name, okay, and the data. See the data we are passing. That's it. So now what exactly is this client? See the OpenAI. I'm using OpenAI embedding model. That's it. So that's it. So the output is nothing but the embeddings. So we have this embedding data, this one, and now once we have this embedding data, we can store it, right? So to store it, we are following like this. So to store it, we are doing it inside this method. So now if you come here, we have the embedding data. Once we have this embedding data, we are kind of creating a dictionary with the key data which has the actual embeddings and then the metadata. That's it. And now this one we are using this particular method. So if you go to AWS documentation, they have clearly mentioned all this method. So using that Boto connection variable dot put vectors, which bucket name, vector bucket name, which index, and the vectors. Vectors is nothing but this dictionary here, inside which we have the embeddings and the key and the metadata information. That's it. So this is how, using this particular put vectors method, we are writing into the S3. So now we can even read it. So now if you come to this my UI page, now if you see, similarly I'm getting the connection and I'm embedding even the query which I will be querying it from the UI. That's it. Now here I'm using this query vectors. So the same Boto connection dot query vectors, if you use the bucket name, the index name, and how many results, top 6 or top 5 you want, that's it, and we'll get the response. So that response will pass to the LLM and ask it to summarize. That's it. So let's go ahead and look at the UI now. So now let me look at this documentation. This is the documentation I have downloaded from the internet. This document is related to USA administration. So now let me search this American agriculture. So let me say explain American culture. That's it. So now it will be processed. See, now we got the output. That's it. From this, similar to what we have here. That's it. We have to even have the policy which enables us to access. Okay. So for my user, I have added these particular actions. So when I go to IAM, so under for my specific user, under permissions, I have created a new policy inside which I have added all those details, whatever we have here, all those actions I have added. So all these I have added in this policy. So if you come here, so all those from the documentation I have added. So that is when my user can access my particular S3 vectors buckets. That's it. Thank you.